All right, my friends, welcome to this series on video engagement strategy. With me, Peter Bowden. This series is sponsored by the Unitarian Universalist Association, so I'm very grateful to all of our friends and colleagues at the UUA for making this happen. If you are joining us live, you can say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We have a great group of people joining us. Now, what I'm going to do is, because this training session is going to be made available on demand, both as a replay as soon as the session's over, but also published through the UUA's Leadership Institute, their online course platform, I'm going to focus on our training and then do a batch of questions at the end. So before we get started, just a few logistics. This training series is 5 packed sessions, half hour each. Every half hour is going to include a Q&A time at the end. So I'll be doing about 20 minutes of presentation and then time for Q&A. And we'll just keep going that way. So presentation, Q&A. Before we get started, I mean, we have people from, I just want to see where people are tuning in from. All right, we have people from all over the United States, Canada, maybe, even some little international. So great to have you join us. Now, in this series, let me just move my comments to the side. Oh, and also, if you are looking at the YouTube video, there's a link there where you can sign up to get reminders for all of our sessions, the replay links, and handouts. So there's a Google document where I'm just posting every day some of the key takeaway points from our session. So sign up there, you'll get the email instantly with that, and you can also share that with your leaders. So in this session, we are talking first about congregations in a video first world. We are going to, over the 5 days today, really try and help you use video strategy to help newcomers connect successfully with your congregation, help you use video to help existing members and friends stay engaged and really connect with them throughout the week so that whatever's happening within congregational life, they are invested in participating. And then also using video to amplify your advocacy and witness efforts. So for all the good you're doing with social justice, working for change, we want to add some simple video practices to that to amplify your impact. Today is going to be an overview, and then after those 3 days of kind of core strategy, our last day is going to be video making tips, some presentation tips, and some of my advice on how do you make this a core practice, a core part of your congregation's ministry and just the way we're doing congregational life today, given that we are in this digital first and very video-oriented world. Now, can you all just give me a little like or comment if you can hear me all right? There's one little question about tech, but I think we're good. Seems like we're doing well. Thank you, everybody. So I want to talk about the impact of video on congregational life today and the way newcomers and existing members are interacting with our congregations. But first, who am I? We have a great group. Some of you know who I am, others maybe not. I'm Peter Bowden. I'm a lifelong Unitarian Universalist, raised at the First Unitarian Church of Providence, Rhode Island, where I was like 3rd generation. I always say my parents met in the youth group, though I was not conceived in the youth group. That came later. So I spent my whole life first participating, then volunteering as a lay leader, working with classes, youth group, young adult groups. The youth group model that I developed was really a group-based, small group-based approach to doing Unitarian Universalist spiritual exploration. That model really helped spark and kind of be a template for what became a popular model for our small group ministry programs nationally. I started the UU Small Group Ministry Network as a website in 2001, and then with others formed a nonprofit that's helped advance small group ministry across our association, which is really how I got started with working with congregations nationally. And, working with small groups connected to how do we welcome people into community? How do we do outreach and hospitality? And I really, as I overcame first being very shy and became better and better at facilitating conversation and helping people connect, that led to a passion for helping us share who we are and really transform lives by sharing our community, what our values, our mission, everything we're about with others. I'd like to say that my experience within Unitarian Universalist congregations really saved me. Like, I don't know if I would have survived as this really shy and unhappy teen, and it's like who I am. I discovered that through participation in congregational life, and then that led to working with congregations nationally, and also married a UU minister. So I'm all in when it comes to Unitarian Universalism and loving what we're about, what we're working on, what we can do in terms of transforming people's lives. Now, let's talk about video. We are at this point where the internet has evolved to the point where the majority of all internet traffic is video. All social media platforms, practically, except for the audio ones, are really focused on sharing photos, yes, but video is the majority of the content that people are engaging with. People are watching videos for entertainment, for learning how to do things. If you're going to make an important decision in your life, people do research, explore, watch car tours, all these things to help us connect with people, to learn, to make decisions. And so just collectively, when you look at humanity today, all the people online using smartphones, other devices, computers, spending hours and hours a day online, their attention is constantly on video. And so what this is doing for our congregations is, if we are not using video to proactively build connections with people using video, like talking to people one-on-one, like I'm talking to you, not in mass, like you're preaching or delivering some talk, but really very relationally talking to people, showing up online as leaders, whether you're clergy, other staff, or volunteers. If we're not showing up online using video in the way that's become really the norm in our world today, whether it's Facebook videos, YouTube videos, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. I mean, the videos are all over, Twitter videos. If we're not showing up, what happens? Well, we're not having an influence on people's lives throughout their week. People aren't, tuned into what we're doing, say, on Sunday if you're having a service or there's some other event. Just all the social media platforms that we're using are really designed to capture people's attention. And one of the things that happens is, if we're not capturing people's attention, engaging, so having conversation, interaction, questions, people commenting, sharing, etc., if we're not really engaging with them in a meaningful and dynamic way, all these platforms realize, what you're sharing, text announcements, just a photo, that's not holding people's attention. We're going to stop sharing it. So if we're not using video, we are increasingly falling off the radar, not capturing people's attention, and we have to hold their attention, capture people's attention in order to speak to their hopes, their wants, their needs, their desires, and to spark a desire to work with us for justice, to participate in worship, to engage with whatever your congregation is doing. So there are 3 specific strategies that I want to talk to you about over the course of this week. I'm going to go over them very quickly now. And so my hope is that talking about how we can use use video, on-demand video, social media video to support newcomers, to engage people with weekly worship themes, and also amplify your justice, advocacy, witness efforts. I want you just kind of soak that in, and then when this session is done, whether you're watching live or the replay, reach out to your membership, worship, and social action teams and recommend that they tune into the rest of the series, whether it's the replay or live. Okay, so number one, let's get into newcomers. All right, this is going to be our focus in session 2 or module 2. The UU Institute, they talk about modules, so I'll say modules. All right. Before the internet and social media, and I'm going to go very quickly, my friends, when people wanted to connect with the congregation, what would they do? Well, once their curiosity was piqued, they'd have to visit you on site, spend a period of time, engage with the congregation, attending worship, getting to know people, and really take the congregation, the community, for a test drive. Is this my spiritual home? Do I belong here? Are people going to like me? All these things. You'd have to actually go to the congregation. Today, it's totally different. Something happens and someone's like, oh, I heard that, this Unitarian Universalist congregation might be right for me. Somebody recommended it to me, or I saw something, I read something, I drove by the congregation, I saw a banner outside. I'm going to do a search. And people do a search, like, Unitarian Universalist congregation near me. Boom, and they're on your website. Or maybe some other social media platform, and they click through to your website. We have this moment, not a long period of time, but a moment when people are curious and in active research mode, and they're trying to figure out right then and there, is your congregation right for you? Right for them. Are you right for them? And here's what's happening. Most of I've looked at many, many, many congregational websites. There's very little video content on the home page, the visitor page, or any of the pages kind of introducing people to who, say, the minister is, other staff, that can help people really get to know who you are and develop a sense of rapport. So what happens is when people don't really get all the information they need to say, wow, this seems fantastic. These people, they explained what's happening. They've explained what their mission is, their values. What's this Unitarian Universalism thing? And is the minister some weird religious person? Or is it a human being I can relate to? Now, I'm married to a minister, and so I know that many people never go to a congregation until they've met the minister. So we can put content online that actually helps people with their educational objectives, like, what is this place about? Spiritual questions, relational questions, like, do I belong? All these things. And so video is really I think the most powerful way that we can show up for people and help them feel like, yes, we care that you're exploring our congregation. Here's who we are. Here's what we're about. Say if I'm the minister, a video on the staff or meet the minister page. Here's my journey and why I'm serving this congregation and why I love this congregation and what we're doing. Adding that kind of content, as well as video content that on your visitor page says, we're so glad you're here. We know this is a challenging time to connect with everything online, the pandemic, etc. We're trying to make it easy for you, and we figured out that attending a newcomer event, whatever your newcomer process is, if you do this, RSVP on this page to come to our next newcomer event, or reach out to so-and-so using the form below. We're going to help you meet other people, get oriented to the congregation, answer all your questions, and really help you plug in a way that's exciting and maybe customize a little bit to your situation, your interests. Doing that with video can greatly, greatly, greatly increase the number of people who follow through. Because when we don't do that, what happens is people are like, I'm not sure. And because I'm not sure, there's a little anxiety. And what happens when there's anxiety? I'll say anxiety and uncertainty does not lead to more research. Very often, as soon as there's this uncertainty in that moment of curiosity, people are like, they go watch Netflix. They go do something else. People know who've been in my trainings, I'll say, uncertainty and anxiety leads to Netflix and things that are easier than connecting with the congregation. So for you, what I want you to do is, and we'll talk about this more in session 2, really take the time to create very relational, warm, friendly content that's going to help newcomers successfully connect with you. And at that, there's a lot of research. If you have the handout document, I linked to, there's an article that shares all kinds of video stats, and there's just clear data that video helps people make decisions. And you want people who are already curious about your congregation to decide that you're great people doing great things they care about, and they want to follow through with connecting, right? Right? Yes. All right, now, so that is working with newcomers. Now, strategy number 2, which is our third day, is helping people engage with worship themes. Friends, people don't read their email. Not when it's not when it's like a giant long email that will take 20 minutes to a half hour to read. I've looked at a lot of emails. I have a little thing that tells me how long your emails are. A 20-minute email listing 50 things. We're training people not to read the email. And if you look at my email inbox, the way I read email is like, delete, 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 delete. All right, so when it comes to engaging with people with what we're doing, email is great to let people who are already connected know everything that's going on so they can reference it quickly. So what about people who aren't connected or are drifting away? Maybe members who care about what we're doing, but we haven't seen them. Well, if they've drifted away, or maybe they're coming every so many weeks, how do we help them decide that, yes, showing up to a worship service or some other aspect of congregational life is going to really feed them? It's going to help them work on the justice issues of our time that they're worried about, maybe doom scrolling on Twitter or whatever it is. What I believe we need to do is, throughout the week, at least once a week, have your primary leaders, perhaps if you have a minister, it's your minister, share a video, whether it's pre-recorded or live. We have to make a practice of this, and I'll tell you how I think you should do it. Where you say, hey, we just had Earth Day when I'm recording this. So we're in April right now. It was recently Earth Day. Imagine the week leading up to your Earth Day service, you say, friends, Earth Day is coming up, and we're all concerned about climate change. Our world is on fire, and it is overwhelming. It is scary. But friends, there's so much we can do. Our congregation has amazing leaders doing amazing work in all these different areas. And so we are going to do a deep dive into where we are in terms of climate this coming Sunday, and help you connect with the different opportunities we have within our congregation to learn more, to engage in civil disobedience, if you guys do that, I don't know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and really help each other, feel supported as we're working through this. And if you have children, our children are worried, so we have this program coming up that is going to help parents figure out how do we talk to, so you get the idea that we're actually using video during the week on Facebook, other social media platforms, to actually say, hey friends, here I am, your minister or other leader, on video. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we care about. Here are the challenges. Here's something that you are struggling with or excited about, passionate about, something you value, and we're going to explore it together. And so that kind of video content takes the person. I talked to a relative just last week about the fact that they haven't been to church in almost a year. Lifelong Unitarian Universalists haven't been to church in almost a year. Why? Because the worship services online are really long. Time online goes by faster. So if you're doing an hour-long worship service, that's the equivalent of a 3-hour worship service for people online. That's just my take. All right, so we need to use video to engage with people. So if you're going to go through the effort of putting on a worship service, you need to, I believe, put in the time to let people know online, on video, why it matters in their lives. And if you can't do that or aren't willing to do that, the problem is the number of people who are, over time, as we become more and more oriented to online and people are making more and more decisions based on their online experiences, and other organizations are doing what I'm recommending, those people are going to go there. Okay? So this is really mission critical for your congregation. Now, I know there's questions about, we don't have time for this. Friends, you don't have time not to do this. You're spending more time, I believe, doing damage control for not communicating using the tools of our time than the time it would take to actually do it. So we'll talk more about that. Last strategy, and I know we're getting to the point where it's time for a little Q&A. Last strategy we're going to talk about is using video to amplify your advocacy and witness efforts. One of the things I love about our congregations is all we're doing to work for justice in the world. We've been at the forefront of so many issues. If you're watching live or watching the replay on YouTube, in a comment, what do you appreciate about our congregations in terms of what we're doing, in terms of making the world a better place, working for justice? What are the issues that you care about that we have been leading on or maybe need to lead on? Put that in a comment. What often happens today is I will see, and just, I've done lots of work with climate activists, doing a digital strategy with them, helping to document climate protests, helping to get media, like national media coverage, etc. So I have some hands-on work with leaders doing different advocacy and witness efforts, plus documenting Unitarian Universalist actions over the years. What I found is that many, many congregations and their leaders will show up to do some kind of protest, actually do something related to saying we need to, and then there's some justice issue that they're advocating for. But what doesn't happen is, in advance of that event, sharing any kind of video or message that explains why it matters. Like a video message that's like, hey, this coming Saturday, we are protesting here in our town for this reason, in such a way that it helps people who might participate in that actually know about it. And most important, you're pitching media outlets as they start researching the event on why that event matters. So we can use video in advance of any kind of justice effort to help orient our potential participants. We can orient the media to what's happening, what our rationale is for that action, and set yourself up as an expert so that when it comes time for those actions, that the media is like, oh, I can talk to Reverend so-and-so. And then, of course, there are things we can do when we're actually engaging in social action, events, protests, etc., where we document what we're doing in a way, like I've used simple videos showing the gathering of what's happening and having a leader say, we are here today live for this reason. You have the leader standing there delivering the synopsis, like here is what we're fighting for and why, with everyone else lined up behind them. And what happens? The media embeds that in articles. People retweet or share it like crazy. It ends up being, all over the place. Put it in Twitter moments, and you can get amazing, amazing traction for your efforts showing up by actually producing that content. So we can talk more about that. But so those three things, supporting online visitors, newcomers in the process they're using today to try and research, explore, and decide if your congregation is right for them. I call that pre-qualifying themselves for membership. They want to pre-qualify themselves before they show up. It's a new dynamic. Doing that, I think, can really help more of the people who might connect with your congregation successfully do so. Using video to engage with people during the week, existing members, friends, and this also supports newcomers too, with what you're doing, really starts taking what's inside your worship service 1 hour a week and starts turning it inside out, bringing more of the conversation online and making it so that people can decide, yes, I want to participate. And then, of course, what happens when you start really doing a good job of putting out your message around the issues you care about in the larger world? You get more attention. People understand what you stand for. They're like, oh, wait, that congregation values these things that I care about. I should check them out, which all of a sudden brings in what? More newcomers and also more donations and all sorts of other benefits. So those three strategies can be huge, huge, huge for your congregation. Now, before I answer any questions, if you're joining us for our second session on welcoming, orienting, and supporting online visitors, here's a little homework for you. Look at your congregation's website, the home page, the first-time visitor page. Many of you have a website where there's a little button that says first-time visitors. Click that page. And then also look at your pages introducing staff people, ministers, others. Are there videos on there? So just come to our session number 2 knowing, are there featured videos on your home page, the visitor page, and anything introducing staff, okay? Now, let's move into questions. And let me grab my comments over here. All right. And also, those of you, if you had a question that you shared long time back in our session, feel free to post it again, just so I get the most recent questions. All right. So, all right. One, timing. I did say, how do you make time for all of this? Now, I'll talk a little bit more about building a practice in our 5th session, but I was painfully shy into my 20s, just so you know. Even though I do speaking in congregations, I've done lots of speaking in congregations, I do online training. For me, it's been a long practice of opening up. And even today, even though I've worked with congregations for years, public speaking, online training like this, and working with television production for 20 years, I did that part-time in addition to congregational consulting up until the pandemic. I still get, not jitters, but there's a level of energy that starts building up. There's resistance, ooh, how's what I'm going to say going to go over? Do people care? I mean, there are all these things that we have about imposter syndrome, doubts, fears. I still get all that stuff bubbling up. After all I've been doing. Friends, it is just like public speaking. Some of you, if you have nerves that come up when it comes to public speaking, that might never go away. But what do? You recognize, I want to speak to these people. It matters, and I'm going to conquer that fear. And so in the same way, the online content that we're really, I think, called to make today, video that can be recorded, set in your website, and serve people day after day, we have to prioritize that. Engaging with people during the week so that what we are doing, is clear to them and they can choose to be part of congregational life. That's really important now. When you just look at where video is online, and then of course, all of your social justice, advocacy, and witness efforts, so important. All right, let me scan a little bit. All right, I will be putting together a list of websites that are doing it well. I'll add that to our notes. Photos and video releases. The UUA has great resources on that. I really encourage you to check out the content that the UUA has put together on copyrights, live streaming, all the things related to legal issues, etc. And as we moved more online during the pandemic, fantastic resources. All right, now, here's a question. Good question from Larry. Do you email midweek videos to members or share in some other way? So a lot of the content that we're sharing on video, say I use a tool called StreamYard, that allows me to broadcast a video live to multiple destinations. So Facebook, a Facebook page, a Facebook group, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, all at the same time. So it's like cloning myself. I can broadcast to all those destinations. What I'll do is I'll share video content there, and I don't always send those videos to people midweek. We're kind of putting that content out so that we're trying to train people to engage with what we're doing, paying attention to videos. What I think you could do if you're interested in that that email practice is letting people know. Say you're going to share a video related to what you're doing. Share it in advance of your weekly services. So let's talk about Sunday services, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Share a video that's explaining what the service is about, inviting people to participate and ask a question related to that. Really prompt reflection, discussion, etc. And then actually in your worship services, you can prompt people to go to your Facebook page, go to wherever that content is, and type in their answer right during the service, so that that video's out there for people who are kind of checking things out during the week. And then on Sunday, everybody who's actively engaged in the congregation, you actually send them during a set period of time to engage with that content, so that you're training those social media platforms, your community, to engage with that, and they learn that that content's valuable. So there's a lot we can do. We'll talk more about that. We are at time, so what I'm going to do is say thank you so much for joining us. You can continue to share questions. Also, feel free to reply to any email reminder for this series with additional questions, and I'll work that into our training sessions over the coming days. So thank you for being here. Tomorrow, session number 2, welcoming, orienting, and supporting the online process that visitors are using to try and connect with your congregation. That's it, my friends. I will see you in our next session.